Shalom, everybody. Rabbi Ariel Tzadok here from the KosherTorah School, found online, as always, KosherTorah.com. Hey, listen, we are right now time stamping this video between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. In my previous video, I shared with you insights, revelations I received through different dreams and visions on Rosh Hashanah. And even though it's been a couple of days, I feel it's important to do this next video here because I think there are points that really need to be emphasized practically. You know, a problem when it comes to any talk of religion and spirituality is that it becomes so theoretical, so philosophical, that it literally becomes lost. It becomes stripped of any kinds of practicality and reality for practice in the real world. And in light of current events and the very, very dangerous times we're living in, the coming chaos, which is going to make what's happened in the past look like nothing, we have very powerful forces active in this world who are specifically and intentionally acting against the best interests of humanity. It's really that simple. And I'm going to share with you things from our Torah tradition, which many of you from other traditions may resonate with because you find that you got similar teachings, but a lot of you are going to have a hard time understanding this and or the more so really accepting it. But I'm going to tell you something rather frightening. I'm not the only one who's noticed this kind of stuff. You've had secular authors, people like David M. Jacobs and John Mack, both, prominent people in their secular fields who recognized a very frightening reality. And that is we are inundated today by that which we can call hybrids. Hybrids are, for a lack of a better way to understand them, biologically DNA 100% correct human beings who just do not have human souls. Their origins are from some other place. And before we start waxing weird here, no, they're not from outer space. They didn't come in flying saucers. They are interdimensional beings from a different parallel universe, for way of understanding it. And they have since forever craved and desired to become human. The problem, of course, is that the energy signature of their souls are incongruent with physical human form. Think if we could take the soul, if you will, and the souls, they're animals and plants, they all have souls. If you would take an animal soul, like of a ravenous, beast, hunter, put it in a human being, it's going to turn into a human being who's going to act in that animalistic way. Well, we need to understand that when we look out in our society and we see so many corrupting forces, you got to really wonder who they really are. And before you hate mongers want to chime in, I actually do read your comments here on YouTube. Let me tell you something that I hope everybody knows, should know. We have good and bad amongst all peoples. And just because I am a rabbi of Torah Judaism, don't think for a minute that I will dare make a foolish statement like all Jews are good. There's no such thing since biblical times. Whether we're talking about the Jewish people or any other nation, anywhere, everywhere, you have good and bad, right and wrong, holy and unholy, moral and immoral. And I think it's important that we always remember that one common denominator for us all, we're all human beings. We are all created in the image of God. How many of us choose to live up to that image? Well, that's a personal choice. So in that respect, let's keep hate speech out of here, nonsense, pointing fingers. But I do want to share with you from our Torah what our Torah has to say about this very, very dangerous phenomenon. Because it might sound like I'm chiming into the UFO conspiracy theories, but I'm not. I'm actually sharing with you traditional Torah teachings. I can share with you something, and I've translated this in many of my works. If you go look at my books on Amazon, you'll find the source material there. A Rabbi Menachem Tziyuni, I think he lived around the 1300s or so, wrote a commentary to the Torah called Sefer Tziyuni, and in the Torah portion Acharei Mot, which deals with the subject of the sacrifice, the time of Yom Kippur, and the offering of the goat to Azazel, who was not the devil, mind you, nothing to do with that, but another topic for another time. He wrote there how those entities who we call Shadim have long desired to integrate and marry with human beings and produce these hybrid children. You can go onto a website like Sefaria.org, the Jewish library. Look for a book called Kav HaYashar and read chapters, I think 68, 69. It's up there in English. It'll tell you a story of a man who is actually married to a female Shidduch, demoness, and they had children. And the children, after he died, laid claim to his property, and it had to be adjudicated in an actual court of religious law. Go look it up. You'll see these things. You're going to say, oh, it's nonsense. It's all make-believe. You know what? When people don't want to believe, they're not going to believe. But I'm sharing with you so you will know. I'm sharing with you our Torah sources. The hybrids. We've always known who they were. We use a biblical name to refer to them. Now, the problem, of course, when we use a biblical name symbolically in Kabbalistic sources, people confuse the symbolic application to the literal historical application and therefore draw all kinds of wrong conclusions. Guys, sometimes you just got to think, please. I mean, when we're talking with one context, we talk one context, we talk another and another. So just because we use the same word, remember, context is king. All right. We're not talking here about an historical group. We're using the name of the historical group to describe us, describe symbolically what we're talking about psychically, spiritually. And the name of that group is the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude. When we want to recognize a hybrid, how do we do that? Like I said, DNA-wise, they're 100% human. But the energy signature of that which we call their soul, their auras, for those people who can read this stuff, you will see clearly they're not human. Our Torah sources say that amongst these hybrids, who we call symbolically speaking now, the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude, mixed because they're mixed souls in human bodies. We refer to them as 5 groups. This is from the Zohar in Daf Kaf Amud Aleph 20. No, Kaf Hey Amud Bet Aleph. I forget 25A or B. I forget which. I think it's A. But old man, old leg, old brain. It started to wind down. So forgive me if I'm off a half a daf there. But anyway, they're referred to as Group 1, those who present argument and slander. A lot of those out there today. Those who are masters of lust, certainly a lot of those out there today. Those who are the two-faced hypocrites, those whose insides are not like their outsides. 4th group, those who hunt after honor to make themselves famous. And the 5th group called those who hunt after money. And the masters of argument are the worst of all. Symbolically, we refer to them as Amalek. Now, these are behavioral pursuits. They are personality, what can I call them? Misalignments. Because when these non-human souls come into human form, they can't calibrate that image of God within us to elevate above. And therefore, the weight of our material world weighs heavy on them, corrupting them to pursue all these kinds of material experiences. And in our society today, which is collapsing because of the weight of these entities, All right. They're all over the place. You might remember a movie that came out a long time ago, I think the 80s and 90s, with the famous wrestler Roddy Rowdy Piper. My day, we used to watch Rowdy Roddy, Hulk Hogan, right? Andre the Giant, all these big tough guys, a long time ago. But the movie, I think, is called They Live. Very interesting film. It's available out there. Shows how this group of, in quote, aliens in the movie have taken over the world and have literally put the world to sleep, in essence, to create a society to serve them. Now, obviously, that's only a movie, but wow, do some of the things in that movie ring true. You'd be surprised how much of the truth of things get into the heads of people who are then inspired and directed to create artistic, expression, whether through novels and literature or movies. You don't think something spoke with George Lucas, to create Star Wars and the like? Most certainly did. Certainly there were voices, or if you will, entities or forces that spoke to people like Nikola Tesla, before him, Leonardo da Vinci, the great scientists, the great musicians like Bach and Mozart. You don't think these people were, quote, inspired by something? They most certainly were, right? But aside from all that, the influence of these negative forces, because we have allowed ourselves to succumb to them, this is why God is sitting back, symbolically speaking. There is no body to sit, but, again, just using metaphors, so go with the flow, please, and watching, like the watchers do in the book of Daniel. And he's allowing, if you will, nature to take its course. Now, nature's already taken its course, and judgment is now ripe. But, like I saw in my vision on Rosh Hashanah, God is merciful. He's giving the righteous more time to separate the great Havdalah from these forces of influence, which are, again, manipulating you, controlling you, getting you to do what? Fall in with their frequency, to be arguing and slandering, to be masters of lust, to be hypocrites, to run after, fame and power, and of course, money, and of course, to create slander and argument. You guys in text, you're writing all your slanders and argument, you're Amalek. I recognize you, but I leave your comments there for the most part. You know why? Because I think that the foolishness and ridiculous of what you say speaks for itself. And I let the world see what you do, and they can recognize you for what you already are. That's where we're at right now, guys. We need to take this time seriously. When we talk about teshuvah, returning to God, we got to recognize we need to recalibrate ourselves energetically to get all of this stuff of the Erev Rav out of us. Because if we desire these things and attract these things, they're going to come to us, and they're going to take our souls down with them when the great separation occurs. That's why there's going to be the ultimate cleansing. Now, I'm pretty confident we're not going to have a nuclear war this year. That doesn't mean we're not going to have other upheavals and tumultuous chaos. I've seen it. I know it's coming. And especially that it's an election year here in the United States. Oh, my goodness. What's going to happen? For those who need to be involved in politics, well, I guess you do. But for those who want to hear what I have to say, please, this is the time now to separate from this world. This is the time to get back to reflect on heaven, on what is divine, and what is holy, to build the communities that we need together, regardless of all of our theological differences. Guys, it's got to stop, all right? In all due respect, only God decides if there even is such a place called heaven and hell, which in our Torah tradition we don't accept or believe. But of course, amongst our Christian and Muslim brethren, you do. Fine. Do you really, really, really believe that all those who are not of your specific theological persuasion are all going to hell forever, right? Evangelicals. Do you really think all the Catholics, and all the people who are not born again Protestants, and all the Mormons, and all the Jehovah's Witnesses. We'll maybe mention the Jews and the Muslims and the Hindus and the Buddhists. You already know about that. Yeah, okay. Where everybody's going to hell. You know what? Let God do what God does. God's the judge of human souls, not you and I. You have your theology. I have my theology. We all have theologies. You know what theology is? It's knowledge, information. And you remember something about that tree of knowledge, good and evil? Yeah, all knowledge is messed up today. No one has perfect, pure, in quote, doctrine and truth. Only God knows. God doesn't judge us by what's in the head, judges us by what's in our heart and what's in our actions. We no longer have the luxury to succumb to the Erev. We got to separate by our behavior, by our character, and learn. United we stand, or divided we're all going to fall. We're up against a very serious and powerful enemy. It is all around us. You can't get away from it. You know, every now and then I get that little thought in the back of my head that tells me, say something. Those are the things usually get me in trouble. But one of those just popped in my head. There is darn good reason why our governments keep the, in quote, UFO issues secret. Yeah, they use it as a tool to distract and do all their other kinds of stuff. But they know what's out there. They've experienced it. And they're scared as hell. Don't think that they're in control, because they most certainly are not. And they know it. Well, we as individuals, I don't care what religion you are, I don't care what your background is, I don't care what your past is. We all as individual humans have an ability, have a power. And if we bond with Hashem, God, directly through his holy name, read my books. I cover all the practicalities there. I can't cover it in, a short little video like this. You'll know what to do. You'll know how to do it. And the more that you do it, you will experience for yourselves why it is so important to be done. Now's that time to do it. And I pray for all of you, please hear what I'm saying. Listen. And again, put it into practice. If you're interested, you want to come learn with me in our school, that's why we're here. But you see, I don't do the YouTube stuff. Hit what is it? Hit the subscribe button, hit the like, blah blah blah. You know what? All that YouTube stuff. We all need to make a living. But you know something? This is far more important. This is bigger than just a YouTube video. This is a message. I hope from my heart to yours, guys. We've run out of time. We need to make changes. Strategic relocation has to be psychological, physical when appropriate, and in all other ways. Please, please, please prepare. Do what you need to do. You're going to be a prepper, and also be a spiritual prepper. Because if your insides are not properly prepared, all your outside preparations will fall and collapse. Please take this to heart. God's blessings to you all. And as we say in our Torah tradition at this time of year, Gamar Hatima Tova, which means may we all be finished, inscribed for blessings in God's holy book of life through this year. Amen. May be his will. Thank you all for listening. Shalom.